Hey, this is Matt Urtz, the Madison County historian. We are still working to document the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and how it has impacted different businesses, communities, people, organizations. And we are very lucky today to have Jennifer Marotto-Lutter, the Executive Director for the Hamilton Partnership for Community Development. Jennifer, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So for those that aren't familiar, can you kind of explain what the Hamilton Partnership for Community Development is?
Sure. So we are a community-based economic development agency for Southern Madison County. Our partnership consists of the town of Hamilton, the village of Hamilton, and Colgate University that all combine efforts to improve quality of life for Southern Madison County.
Okay. So talk a little bit about when COVID-19 kind of first appeared on your guys' radar. I know for a lot of people, you know, that time frame, a lot of people got real June or March 11th, but the stuff started to close March 16th, 50%, and then March 20th, the pause starts. So talk a little bit about that process with you guys.
Sure. So I think for our staff, it was on our radars in early February, really, when it started to spread around the world and just starting to think about how it would impact a very small community like ours. But then in early March, it was obvious that it had arrived in New York and that it would be arriving in our community. So one of the things we started to do was just, as much as we could, connect with our elected officials to make sure that we were up to date on everything that was going to be changing, all the regulations. And then soon after that, all of the programs that were going to be coming out to make sure that we could communicate to the businesses and community residents what life would look like in Hamilton. So that's one of the first things we did. Once the shutdown started, we had a Zoom call with the business community. We actually did it at 9 o'clock at night after everybody was closed. And we had over 20 business owners on the call, all talking about and brainstorming how we would get through it, how we would support each other. And just, you know, like I said, over 20 businesses were represented. So much resource sharing. I will help you set up online ordering. Let me help you with your social media. Do you need help with this? Just a lot of great collaborations came out of that. And we were able to hear from the business owners really quickly what PCD could do to help them get through it.
Okay. So Hamilton was actually one of the earliest places. Hamilton, Madison was one of the earliest places hit. So you guys experienced it early on. Talk a little bit about, in the moment, having to adapt on the fly with helping businesses out and what you could do, because it has been a very fluid situation that seems to change by the day, by the minute, by the hour. So
we have a newsletter, community newsletter that reaches over 1,200 people. And then we have a business newsletter that reaches about 400 people. So we immediately started to communicate with people about what was closing, when, and what they needed to do to be in compliance. And we were constantly answering questions for those businesses. Here's what you need to do to be safe, because it is in our community. And, you know, for most of them, it was obviously just a shutdown other than the essential businesses. So from there, we immediately started to give out $500 grants to any business to digitize anything they were doing. So do they need to set up online ordering? Do their website need an upgrade? So, and then we help them find the resources to do that quickly. So people were launching new online initiatives very quickly. For instance, Perry's, which is our general store, was able to offer a robust online ordering system to get people groceries, to keep them out of the store, but to get them groceries, and they're sourcing so much of it locally. So part of the things on that call was the farmers saying, we need a way to get our produce to people, but it's hard. So Perry said, bring it to us. It'll be part of our online ordering system. So we were able to help our local farmers and producers through our local general store, which was a great collaboration, and that has been really successful. So we were able to facilitate some of that. And then we moved on to a bigger fundraising initiative called our Small Business Fund, where we worked with the community and then also members of Colgate to raise money to help businesses overcome some of the obstacles that the pandemic has put in front of them. And we quickly raised over $110,000, which was great. We distributed that money to over 30 businesses in the community to help them remain solvent, while at the same time helping them to apply for the PPP and the EIDL, which are both programs that came out of the federal programs that came out of the CARES Act. So giving them a local subsidy, but then also taking advantage of federal programs that were meant to help them out.
Talk a little bit about those programs. You referenced that money came from different spots. Talk a little bit about helping people kind of navigate, because one of the things we've read is when the PPP first came out, there was a lot of confusion.
Yes.
So talk about how you guys were able to help people circumvent that.
So we have a great relationship with our local small business development centers. So we are always getting information from them, because they are a federal entity. So they are also direct link to information for us. So part of what we did is we distribute the information they give us to our businesses. And then really it was just PCD staff on the phone, one-on-one with everybody, walking them through what program worked for them and how to apply. And then also, like I said, working with our small business development centers to do a similar thing. It was confusing. We kept a list going of every business we had talked to and how they were doing in the process. And then we also kept a list of businesses that we knew had applied. We followed up with them. Why? We're so lucky that we have Congressman Anthony Brindisi as our representative. He really heard, we had a list going of all the sort of barriers our businesses had to accessing the funding, and he really took that to Washington for us. He hosted a Zoom call, community Zoom call for our businesses with us. We had over 50 people in attendance, directly talking to him about what could be improved in those programs and upcoming programs to serve small businesses better. And I think that has been very, very helpful. So one of the things he worked on was extending the PPP is forgivable, but at the beginning it didn't really work for most of our businesses because you had to rehire people, but they're not in a position to rehire people. So he worked to have that amended and extended.
Okay. Talk a little bit about you. How many staff do you have?
We're a staff of 4.
Okay.
Myself, I'm the executive director. We have an economic development specialist. We have an administrator, and then we also have we received a grant last year from New York State for our incubator that we run in downtown Hamilton. We received a $625,000 grant for the operations of that facility. And with that funding, we hired a full-time incubator director who also only works, her whole job is only working with businesses. So her and I split the role of being a liaison with businesses and programs and grants and everything else. So
talk about, you guys probably normally do a lot of face-to-face interaction, and that obviously has changed during this pandemic. Talk about that adaptation and how we all have learned how to use Zoom and Skype and every other entity, but talk about how you guys adapted on the fly. Right. It's difficult for us because we are community-based and we have networking events and other things that happen, but we are such a relational organization. I mean, part of the reason we can do what we do is because we're integrated and people trust work that we do. So that has been really difficult, but lucky for us, we do have very good relationships with our elected officials and the community and businesses. So transitioning to Zoom has felt like a very safe, but still very effective alternative. When I call somebody and we Zoom or we talk on the phone, I have a 5-year relationship with them that I'm speaking to them all the time. So that has been, I think it's been, like I said, an effective and safe way to still maintain a very high level of service for us. Okay. How do you see this changing how you guys do business moving forward? We've always worked with businesses to think about bigger picture stuff together to lift us all up as a community, but this has really shown a spotlight on that. So right now we are currently exploring how to bring all the businesses together under one delivery service, so they aren't all taking on the burden of doing that. And that's something that our business owners have been amenable to. We also just launched a bulk buying program to have all of the businesses buy COVID safe cleaning supplies and all biodegradable packaging, because we're doing so much takeout. And because we're able to bring so many businesses under the umbrella, we received reduced rates from Johnson Paper, which is based in Auburn. So we're supporting another regional business. But I think we are just going to, we already do, but now we are moving more towards a groupthink model of
as a community, what can we all do together to get through this, but then in the future, do things that make sense for everybody. We'll continue to work with individual businesses as they start and grow, but I do think more community-wide business type initiatives will be in the works.
You kind of referenced it, but do you think there will be any, looking at how you've changed now, do you think of any of this will be implemented long-term because it's worked better, or just it's how it's going to be?
Yeah, I think so much of it will, actually, especially many of our businesses that have transitioned to online ordering models. We are a college town, so a lot of the students are coming from urban areas where they're used to a different operational method than we might use, some of our businesses might use. But I think, yeah, I think a lot of it will be here to stay. And, you know, just adapting to it. I think some of it has been challenging, but fulfilling for the businesses, and they'll continue it after.
You actually brought up something I hadn't even thought about. Colgate, I think maybe a week or two ago, announced their plans for comeback. Is there a fear? What happens if the students don't come back in the fall?
Yes, there's a fear both ways of if students come back and coming from all over, and
Right.
if they don't come back. So Colgate has done an amazing job of they hosted a community forum last week, over 200 people on the call with President Brian Casey, and a number of other Colgate staff members to talk people through their very in-depth plan. And the way PCD interacts with that is we are the liaison with the businesses. So right now we're helping to coordinate how parents can safely patronize businesses without entering them. So tons of online ordering and curbside pickup, getting students what they need from businesses without entering. So that is one of the great ways that we work together. So yeah, I think there's fear either way, but I think Colgate is being extremely proactive in addressing people's concerns and finding safe ways for students to come back and be part of the community, but to make the community feel safe.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people in the community, the businesses in the community?
Yes, I think one of the greatest things about, well, a positive thing that has come out of the pandemic is that I think it has really shown how deep and strong the community is in Hamilton and how much people really care about each other. I mean, when we send out things for local, people want to support their local businesses so much. I mean, they're their friends and neighbors. They want them to survive. People really doing everything they can. Businesses taking as much food as they can to the food cupboard. People volunteering. And I think it also shines a really positive light on rural life. You know, we have a better food system than a lot of places. People can still enjoy our natural landscape. And I think, like I said, Hamilton has always enjoyed a very high quality of life. And I think that quality of our businesses, the amount people care about each other and the community and the landscape that we live in has been much appreciated by people.
Thank you very much for taking part in this, Jennifer. I really do appreciate it. As more things come down the pipe, when we started this, we thought we'd talk to everybody once. And now that we're 4 or 5 months into it, we've reserved the option to maybe contact you again if stuff changes.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
So thank you for taking the time, and we hope to talk to you soon in a much more positive time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, bye.